Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here. I've got another Master Duel video for you. So, today we're going to be taking a look at some of our Ishizu Tearlaments games after hitting DL Max in the event. So this is a little bit of some second stage action here. Now, I will just say this, because I think by the time this video goes out, the results of the second stage have probably already been dropped. I'm almost sure they have, actually, now that I think about it, but I will say this, I am not actually going to end up playing too much in the second stage. There is that part of me that really wants to get that World Championship qualification, but unfortunately, I don't think that I realistically have the time to grind out that much Yu-Gi-Oh!, especially because I have some IRL stuff that's been happening lately that's been keeping me not like too busy or anything, but busy enough that you know, like I said, I just don't think I'm going to be able to, even if I really was determined to, I just don't think I have the time to grind out the games that I need to actually qualify for the World Championships. And on top of that, it's like, you know, as much as I would like to go to Worlds, I also value my sanity. And, like, as much as I do like playing Tearlaments, and I do like the Tearlaments mirror match, even I am a bit Tearlamented out, if that makes any sense. I'm getting a little tired of tears, is all I'm saying. So, you know, I'm not necessarily trying to, like, spend 16 hours a day for this weekend, like, grinding out that many Tearlaments mirror matches. So, we will still show off some second stage gameplay here, though, with Ishtier. I am still, at this point, rocking the build I got top 8 with at MCS Week 13. Just because it's been doing well for me both in tournaments and on ladder as well. Don't really see a need to change it at this point in time either. You know, unless like there's a huge meta shift, i.e. the ban list we're all waiting for, where we all have to drastically rebuild our Tearlaments decks. But no, at this time, I don't think there's really any meta developments that have wanted me to change my build. Yeah, it's all pretty much the same as it's been, which I know is a great selling point for this video, but we do have some pretty solid gameplay here to show off that I'm pretty eager to show you all. I guess the one thing I've kind of been thinking about is like trying to slot in the third Triple Tactics talent yet again. I've seen a few comments being like, how could you not play DD Crow? How could you not play DD Crow? I've actually seen comments asking that about evenly matched as well. Okay, two separate responses, though. Let me start with DD Crow. I've talked about this quite a few times ever since I've cut them entirely, but ever since I've cut DD Crows for Ash Blossoms, I've not looked back once. I don't miss DD Crow at all. DD Crow is definitely way clunkier and awkward to play, not even just against other decks, but against the mirror match, because one of the things I like to highlight about what makes Ash Blossom good is that it's good against Maxx and other decks, and, you know, I saw, again, more comments saying, like, oh, but you never play against anything other than Tears, and Tears don't care about Maxx anyway. And neither of those statements are true, frankly. Tears don't really care about Maxx exactly on turn 1, but at literally any other point after that, I mean, I don't know, it's kind of, sometimes it doesn't matter as much. It's situationally dependent, but in any case, you'd definitely rather your opponent not resolve a Maxx. And as far as, like, oh, the other point people made was that, like, you can't make Mudragon anymore, and honestly, I'm gonna be level with you all. My reaction to that is, so? Like, even when I was playing 3 DD Crow, Mudragon is fine. It comes up occasionally, not just as a level 4 body for a rank 4, but the targeting protection. But, like, I've not missed it a single time. There's not a single instance where I thought to myself, wow, I wish I could really summon Mudragon right now. There might have been a situation I missed where that would have helped me, but I mean, either way, it's not, like, it's not affected my gameplay significantly, I don't think. Yeah, I don't know. I just, again, I don't think DD Crow... Oh, and then Evenly Matched was the other card I wanted to talk about. This is actually a video I'm probably just going to make its own video about going second cards and why I don't like them in Master Duel. That's a conclusion I came to, actually, during Sprite format, when I tried to make Dark Ruler No More and Evenly Match work in a meta where they were really good, and I still hated playing them. I hated drawing them going first. It happened all the time. They don't guarantee win you the game going second. That's just kind of a TLDR preview of what my going second video, rather a video about going second cards is going to be like. I don't think they're bad. I don't think it's wrong necessarily to play evenly matched. I just don't like it. I don't like it at all. I kind of hate it, actually. Again, not just evenly, but also stuff like Dark Ruler no more. What's another going second card? Raw Sphere Modal, you don't really see that in tiers. But anyway, like I said, that'll be its own video. But yeah, I think that's pretty much all I've got to say about this deck list at this point. Oh, the extra deck. I should talk about the extra deck a little bit. I have, speaking of Mudragon, not gonna lie, I've kind of been thinking about cutting it. Like, I never make this card. I can't tell you the last time I made Mudragon. And again, I could be just playing Tearlaments wrong, or I guess particularly Mudragon wrong in that regard. But even when I was playing DD Crows, I almost never made it. And now that I'm not playing DD Crows, I literally never make Mudragon. I've not made Mudragon a single time since I've cut DD Crows, and not missed it either, mind you. So I could definitely see that card going from the extra deck. That sounds really weird, but I think it could be right. Honestly, the thing is, I'm not even quite sure what I want to put in its place. Like, I can't really think of another fusion monster you, like, really super need. As far as links go, like, I guess you could maybe try to squeeze in an IP Avermax or, like, an Underworld Goddess. I think Underworld Goddess would probably be the most likely card I would slot in the extra deck over Mudragon. But I don't feel particularly passionate about either card in this extra deck, to be honest. Like, Mudragon is like, if it's there, it's there. If it's not, whatever. But I feel the same way about Underworld Goddess. Like, if it's there, it's there. But if our opponent plays a Towers, we have some other outs to it. It's usually going to be like triple attack or something. But, especially if it's Pep, we have a lot of outs to that. So, yeah, I don't know. That's pretty much all I've got as far as my thoughts for regular 40-card Ishizu Tearlaments at this point in time. Might be hot takes, say DD Crow and Mudragon in general are a little overrated, but a little. I have to emphasize a little. I don't think they're terrible cards by any means, but I don't think they're quite staple level like some people may think. So anyway, let's just go ahead and list the deck out card by card, as we always do, and then look at some gameplay. So we're playing 3 Maxx, we're playing 2 Tearlaments Merrli, 3 Ash Blossom, and a Joyous Spring, 2 Tearlaments Havnis, 1 Fairy Tale Snow, 1 Tearlaments Scheiren, 3 Tearlaments Reinoheart, 2 Keldo, the Sacred Protector, 3 Mudora, the Sword Oracle, 2 Kelbek, the Ancient Vanguard, 2 Agido, the Ancient Sentinel, 1 Reinforcement of the Army, 1 Terraforming, 1 Foolish Royal Goods, 2 Triple Tactics Talent, 1 Primeval Planet Perlerino, 3 Tearlaments Scream, 3 Infinite Impermanence, 1 Tearlaments Cryme, and then 2 Tearlaments Sulliek. There's our main deck. For our extra deck, we're on 1 Mudragon of the Swamp, 1 Tearlaments Kitkallos, 1 Predaplant Dragostapelia, 1 Tearlaments Rulkallos, 1 Tearlaments Kaliedo-Heart, 1 Abyss Dweller, 1 Zoodiac Drident, 1 Zoodiac Boarbow, 1 Zoodiac Chakanine, 1 number 41 Bagooska, the terribly tired Tapir, 1 Time Thief Redoer, 1 number 60 Dugares the Timeless, 1 Divine Arsenal, Zeus Sky Thunder, 1 Dark the Dark Charmer Gloomy, and then finally a Sprite Elf. There is our deck. Now let's look at some gameplay. Alright, this should be the last WCS qualifiers video, so it'll be the last time I'm saying this for a minute. Because we cannot check our opponent's decks, and because these games were recorded a little bit ago, I actually do not recall off the top of my head what my opponent's playing. Looks like they're on a 60 card list, and it also looks like we are taking the first turn here. Oh, you know what? This might actually not be a game from round 2. Some of the later games we see will be, but this one, if I recall correctly, was actually the last game before I leveled up to DL Max, my last game at DL 19. In any case, so my opponent's got a Maxx. I'm going to go for Kitkallos, Search Sulliek. If you get Maxx, turn 1 as Tearlaments, that's usually the line to go for, right, is to just use your Kitkallos instead of getting Merrli to further extend your mills and plays. Just grab the Sulliek, you know, then you can just set it. You'll have a negate, you'll have a mill 5, and I mean, especially with this hand where we already have like Maxx and Kelbek as disruption, we get to have some more tools to stop our opponent as well, including this Triple Tactics talent too. This card is fantastic. If you've not crafted Triple Tactics talent yet, I absolutely recommend getting a playset. Again, I'll go into further detail about this in my actual dedicated going second video, or rather video about going second to cards, but I love Triple Tack as an alternative to stuff like Evenly Match and Dark Ruin no more. Because it's really good going second for similar reasons those cards are, namely in that it can help break your opponent's board, but it's also really useful going first. It's got that versatility, and we're seeing it being useful going first right here, as we are going to use it in order to put back. That went by a little quicker. I should have paused while the cards actually flipped face up, but I ended up putting back an opponent's Foolish Burial. The other cards in their hand were Orcus Hardpourer, Mudora, Tearlaments Scream, and Callby. Callby was the last card. So with that hand, I know I'm up against Orcus Tears, and like the Orcus Hardpourer doesn't do anything if it's not in the graveyard. So it doesn't do anything by itself. Mudora, they don't have another Earth Thirst, that doesn't do anything by itself. Scream, they don't have a tier name, so that doesn't do anything by itself. Callby's a little scary as disruption, but I would much rather take my opponent's proactive plays than their reactive ones, right? Foolish Burial is what ties that hand together for my opponent, so that is absolutely the card we're gonna take out. And like I said, we're just going to set this Sulliek along with our Kitkallos and then pass over to our opponent. Going to fire off Maxx during the draw phase just in case my opponent has their own triple attack. I know they have the Callby, but I'm like, if they're going to use it, like, let's just get it out of the way, right? And if they don't, if they get really greedy and try to save the Callby for Kitkallos, that's totally fine because then a Maxx is resolved on their turn. So looks like they managed to top deck an Allure of Darkness. Very good top deck post triple attack, and they do end up sending that Orcus Hardpourer away. So there's a Scream in the Mudora. Kelbek ends up being one of their two unknowns. Looks like they do have to get it twisted in order to make plays here. They end up hitting a Miller and not much else. I hit a Shuffler. I always say Miller when I mean Shuffler. They hit a Shuffler and not much else. I hit a Shuffler as well as a Reinoheart they're going to put back. I'm also triggering the Kelbek effect here. And the reason I'm doing that is so that way, even though my opponent does still have a normal summon, that might seem kind of weird. It's like, well, they could just normal that Mudora again. If their other monster in hand is another level 4 monster, I don't want them to have the option to go into rank 4 plays. Like, Dweller Zeus would suck here. So, I mean, to be fair, we have Sulliek, so we could probably play around it, but Dweller Zeus would suck, and I don't want that to happen. So, bouncing back my opponent's Mudora, and they do end up having, oh no, sorry, they don't have a level 4 monster. They're just going to resummon the Mudora and then pass back over. So I'm going to start by normal summoning this Fairy Tale Snow to put my opponent's Mudora face down, but the last card in hand is Havnis. Very well played on my opponent's part. Playing out this hand after getting triple attacked, I gotta give props to my opponent on how they played this. So here comes the Havnis in response to the Snow. That's going to mill 3 cards. I'm going to put the Mudora face down, but they milled another one, so it didn't matter. They milled 3 more off a Scream, hitting a Keldo, but no Fusers. Given they're on 60 cards, I guess that's not too surprising, but still very unlucky for our opponent. But this is, to me, a prime opportunity to go for Dweller, and then maybe even Zeus as well, depending on how things play out. But Dweller activated, they chose not to activate any of their Shufflers in response, so neither Mudora nor Keldo came out. And yeah, that leaves me free to make my plays now. Not just free in the sense that I can sack off the Kitkallos and then, you know, summon the Merrli for the mill 8, but as you can see, I've milled a Kelbek, and because my opponent's under the Abyss Dweller, yeah, they're not going to get any benefits from the stuff they mill. I'm the only one who's going to benefit off of it, and as you can see, they just ultimately decided to concede in the face of this potential just going off here. I already had a Fuser effect on the chain link there as well. So yeah, it was super Jover for my opponent there. So there is that duel. Again, I do remember that game. That was actually the last game into DL Maxx. But now we're going to look at some second stage games here. Okay, this one, oh, the name is so familiar. Like the game is on the tip of my mind here. I'm so close to remembering what happened in this one, but I'm not going to strain myself. So it looks like we do get to take the first turn. Oh my god. And we just opened like a super disgusting hand here. Perlerino, Reinoheart, Sulliek, and Cryme. There's literally not, I don't think anything else I could really ask for in that opening hand going first there. Except for maybe, I don't know. I couldn't even tell you off the top of my head. But Reinoheart resolves, sending a Merrli. Grabbing Scheiren off the Perlerino since we already had the Reinoheart and we have a Mudora to send off the Scheiren as well. So Kitkallos is going to summon the Merrli. We're going to mill 8 here. Okay, I remember this part of this game, and I'm actually really glad I did because I get to talk about something here. So, as you can see, our mill 8 did not yield very many results at all. The only fusion name we hit was Merrli, which we've already activated. Very unlucky on our part. Now, we did hit a Miller in the form of Kelbek, and I think there is a decent amount of players here who would see this, just below average mill and be like, oh yeah, I gotta fire off the Kelbek here, right? But no, I'm actually not going to. Because we don't need to. This is what I've been talking about, and what I talked about particularly in the, have tiers overstayed their welcome video I made, where I mentioned, that a skilled opponent does not rely on the variance of millers in order to ensure that they have plays with their fusers. I'm going to show you what I mean here. So I'm going to pop off for the Scheiren here. We end up milling a Reinoheart instead. So it was still a little bit luck-based. I was still kind of relying on the Scheiren here. But the thing is, after milling so abysmally, right, we have a pretty decent shot off the top 3 to hit another name, right? And even if it's Reinoheart, that's still completely fine because we have plenty of stuff to discard here in hand. So sometimes the optimal decision to taking a chance on the miller is to take a chance on a lesser mill that only mills you. That's what I would prioritize going first and you don't know what your opponent's playing. I just, maybe I'm too cautious. I still think unless you're, absolutely bricked the hell up, honestly, the only hand where I would really get it twisted, use a Miller effect right away, blind, is if the only monsters in my hand were exactly Keldo and Agido, right? Because then I at least get a Surge with Keldo, and Agido's not going to do anything. It's not like Kelbek where I could justify holding it for a disruption, but pretty much unless I open exactly Keldo, Agido, and no other plays, that's the only time I would blind get it twisted on turn 1. In pretty much no other circumstance would I want to do that. Here my opponent's got a Dark Ruler no more, but thank God we've got Tearlaments Cryme here. Thank God. Oh, I actually want to use this video as a bit of a talking point as well to what I was mentioning earlier. Nope, never mind. I'm against Sword Soul. That is a different game I'm thinking of, so. Oh, no, this is the same game, right. So I thought for some reason that this game my opponent was playing the Tearlaments as well, but one thing I want to point out here, my opponent is tacked up, right? They're tacked up, especially against the Tearlament mirror match, and also they're tacked up for going second. They've got the Dark Ruler no more, they've got Evenly Matched, they've got Dimensional Barrier. I generally still think that these are mistakes. It's mistakes to play these cards because they're really only good in the case of Evenly Matched and Dark Ruler no more going second. And then Dimensional Barrier is kind of a weird card. It's only good exactly going first. And it does also require that you know what your opponent's playing, generally speaking. Now, obviously, in this meta, it's not a stretch at all to play this card and call Fusion, right? But at the same time, I just don't think it's right to play it in your main deck, because it's just going to brick you up and make your draws, worse. That's another reason why I also don't like going second cards, is that they feel really bricky. And I'm just not a huge fan of them for that. Mainly that reason. Some others as well, again, I'll go into it more in another video. But yeah, things are looking really good for us. I don't really think I need to point that out, but they are. Gonna proc the Scheiren effect here. This is a little bit awkward. Maybe I should have waited on using this fuser until my opponent had a play. That way I can go into Kaliedo-Heart, right? And then just shuffle back whatever my opponent plays. So my opponent does get to resolve it evenly here. But I'm going to keep my Rulkallos around, so that way I can stop a Mogier if it gets normal summoned. You might be wondering why I didn't stop that Vishida effect. It's because I just get to use a Shuffler. Well, also to be fair, if I use the Vishida effect, that doesn't necessarily guarantee that I stop my opponent from using the Vishida bounce effect, because I already got shuffled back. But even if my opponent does have a Monk on the board, they could still easily end up with a Sword Soul token at another point. So that's another thing that's, mindful, or you want to be mindful about when you're playing Tearlaments, is just note your graveyard resources. If you can use a Miller to stop a play and it doesn't take one of your onboard effects, I generally prefer that. And this is one of those situations where that was in fact the case. So there is that duel. We have a couple more to check out. Let's go straight into the next one here. All right, here's our next game. This was a mirror match. I think I remember this one. If I don't remember the deck I was playing as, I do remember at least how the game went. It's actually kind of funny. So, all right, I think it's a 60 card mirror match potentially. I do see our opponents on quite a few cards. this hand is fantastic. This is one of the best opening. This might be just the best going second hand I could ask for. Except for maybe instead of Foolish Barrel Goods, Perlerino. But I mean, we've got Maxx, which we fired off during the draw phase, once again to play around triple tack. 60 card decks don't really play triple tack, so that might not have been necessary, but I still figure I'd try. Kelbek, we have his Disruption, and Imperm as well. So I'm feeling really, really good about this hand. But it's going to start with a Charge of the Light Brigade for a Raiden. They actually milled a Destiny Hero Malicious in the process. That's really good. That's literally a free Baron for my opponent right off the bat, so that is going to be the first thing they make here is Baron de Fleur. And going to give us some draws in the process. Yeah, it looks like my opponent is just committing to playing turn 1 here into the Maxx. Although they're actually going to be on like a 60 card Chaos deck that's also featuring Tearlaments, but it's also featuring like Necrofaces and multiple Fairy Tale Snows to mill them. So that's going to be my opponent's main win con there. So I'm going to use, I'm going to get to fire off the Kelbek here because my opponent milled with Scheiren. And that's going to force my opponent to use the Baron's Omni Negate right now. Beautiful, love it, exactly what I wanted to happen. I still have this Imperm to stop a Kitkallos when my opponent tries to drop that. Now that can't get negated anymore. This Baron, really, I literally have nothing to fear from it anymore at all. So my opponent has kind of effectively thrown that advantage they initially had. Granted, I was going to bounce the Baron with Kelbek anyway, so it was, of course, still correct to do so, but it is definitely a bit of a feels bad, I have to imagine, for a good old Soda Launcher here. So opponent's going to special summon to Kitkallos and then get back the Dotscaper they milled. Kitkallos effect activates. I'm actually going to trigger the Kelbek effect and then also fire off the Imperm. Because my opponent is on 60 cards. This is something I talked about in the other game there, right? Where if my opponent's also on 60 cards, I'm a little more, or not also, if they are on 60 cards, I'm a little more inclined to proc one of my millers. And especially here, right, where it's my opponent's turn, so I already have the inherent advantage of, like, I know I'm not going to die this turn by battle, so there's no risk to getting it twisted in that regard. And thanks to Maxx, I already have a very sizable advantage over my opponent, so yeah, we're looking really, really good here. We get to proc Scheiren and Sulliek. My opponent milled, they milled the Necrophase, which is potentially pretty relevant, but should be fine. I can search up a Havnis here off the Sulliek, and then I'm going to use the Kitkallos, probably just to grab either Sulliek or Scream, I imagine. Yeah, Sulliek here. Alright, opponent's going to use Baron to pop their own Kitkallos. I'm going to special the Havnis here in response. We end up milling another Havnis, which I don't think we've used yet, so going to go ahead and fire that off. My opponent gets to mill 5, that's fine, I don't really care. Because now I get to make Rulkallos. Stop the next Fuser from activating. Opponent is going to proc the Kelbek. I'm actually going to use Ash Blossom here. Now, you might be wondering, Hex, why did you Ash Blossom their Kelbek? Didn't you just say that you wanted to get it twisted during their turn? Generally speaking, yes. But as always, there is nuance to when you want to be using your Disruption. And I actually do not want them to get it twisted here. Even though it would benefit me, it would also benefit my opponent. In this situation, they're actually really far behind me right now. In terms of both hand and board. Like, obviously I have way more cards in hand, and their board is just not nearly as good as mine, with this Baron already being used up on both fronts. So, yeah, I don't want them to extend anymore. I'm, like, fine leaving the game state where it is now. So I'm going to stop that Kelbek from activating. Again, you just have to be mindful of the situation, right? It's so hard to blanket say, not just for this deck, but honestly for almost any disruption tool in Yu-Gi-Oh! It's so hard to make a blanket statement of, like, you always want to activate a miller at this time, or you never want to activate a miller at this time. There's always going to be nuance to it. The best tip I can give is just think about what the consequences of the miller resolving would be for both players, right? And by consequences, I don't necessarily mean, like, negative repercussions, but, like, would it be positive for you? Would it be positive for the opponent? Would it be negative for you? Would it be negative for the opponent? Would it not really matter either way? Just all things to consider. So my opponent's actually got Dark World Dealings, which, although it lets them put their Fairy Tale Snow in the graveyard, it also lets me put another Shuffler in the yard. So I'm going to first negate Snow with Rulkallos, then I'm going to fire off the Mudora in response to Fairy Tale Snow. They get to activate Snow yet again, because they do have quite a few cards. Well, they did have quite a few cards in their graveyard, but now they're all gone, and I have another Keldo. So it's like, this Fairy Tale Snow is not coming down on the board. Like, it's just not happening. At this point, my opponent should probably just concede. They don't have a graveyard anymore. They have one card in hand, one monster on the field that's not going to really do them a whole lot of good. Now, they do get to Necroface Mill, but that doesn't really do anything. Okay, Nemesis Flag ends up being their last card to put back the Necroface. And now they do get to search the corridor and go for a Thunder Dragon Colossus, but yeah, I don't think I need to tell you it's way too late for that to be useful. It is in fact far too late. They even get to get back the Protos, which would be so good here if they had not used up their whole graveyard. So, the funny thing too about that game, that was one turn. I don't often show one-turn duels on my channel. I actually really don't like doing that, because that usually just means, you know, I got a combo off and then my opponent conceded. That's not really fun to show. But this was a very, very involved and back and forth duel that just all happened to take place during my opponent's first turn. So, yeah, good stuff, good stuff. One more duel to show off. Let's go straight into it. So this game, I remember this game. Oh, what was I up against though? Shoot, I remember the situation I wanted to show. Oh, I'm up against Adventure Plunder. That's right. I think most Plunder decks might just use Adventure cards, but I'm going second against a Plunder deck. And I wanted to show off an interaction that I'm actually going to end up asking the viewers, you all, for some help with. Because I'm not really sure what happened here. We'll get there. We'll see. So, opponent's got an Ash Blossom for my draw phase Maxx. Definitely not great. They're going to then go for a Fateful Adventure. Going for the Dragostapelia, and as you can see, they have this red beard on the board as well. Now, I definitely, in this game, I'll say, I definitely underestimated Plunder's ability to, like, play during the opponent's turn. So, I definitely do not play against this board optimally, which, mainly the reason I didn't is just because, again, I underestimated it. It didn't seem like much of a board to me, so I was like, whatever. So, opponent's going to fire off Maxx because we are going second. I am going to go ahead and play into it, because I think that I have the ability to find lethal here. Opponent's going to actually use their Griffin Rider on my Maxx, which is fine with me. Going to proc my Havnis as well, and I mill an Agido there, so we know we can get it twisted, because I can't imagine my opponent's also on Tearlaments here. We can get it twisted 2 times over, actually. We've got a Kelbek as well, and we have this Reinoheart that'll be live too. So right now, I'm thinking that my way for lethal is probably just going to be to... Well, we'll have to see what we end up milling here before we can effectively declare that. So here's the Reinoheart getting in attack mode, because we're going second. We get to attack. Looks like we milled a Havnis, Snow, Shuffler, Merrli. Yeah, we milled a bunch of stuff. Alright, looks like the Havnis and the Merrli are both proccing. Here's Reinoheart and Sulliek as well. Oh, and I did Scheiren too. This was definitely a misplay I did here. There was no reason for me to use all 3 fuser effects in the same chain link, like literally none whatsoever. So, yeah, definitely a mistake on my part. I absolutely could have played that better. Alright, here's Havnis now to make Kitkallos, and then because, again, I have another fuser effect coming up, I think I literally just turned this Kitkallos directly into a Rulkallos. Definitely not ideal. I definitely should have, yeah, I definitely should have waited on one of those fuser effects, but it is what it is. We are where we are now, so I'm going to use my Kaliedo-Heart to put back this Yord, the Earth ship there. We'll get to mill through with Merrli, now proccing the Fairy Tale Snow. Going to use Fairy Tale Snow's effect to put down their Plunder monster, and then link off into a Sprite Elf. So now... lethal here is going to look really weird, but oh my god, I just figured out why this play didn't work. Jesus. I was about to, okay, so right here, I was about to ask you all, why didn't Fairy Tale Snow flip the adventure token down? That's what I was counting on to get rid of their Dragostapelia. You can't flip tokens face down. I can't believe I did not realize that at the moment. This stumped me after I played this game live. It really did. But, you know, something, hindsight's always 2020. But yeah, definitely not one of my brighter moments, and I played assuming that Fairy Tale Snow effect that I just activated there was going to resolve, and that I was going to be able to go for lethal. So if you're wondering why I played into Maxi just to deal not even half of my opponent's life points as damage, that would be the reason. God, I even saved this game too, because like I said, I wanted to be like, oh, maybe the viewers will be able to figure out what I didn't. But don't worry, I got it. You can't flip tokens face down. Good stuff, good stuff. So, all right, we'll end on a defeat there, but that's fine. Like I said, I wasn't trying too super hard to qualify for Worlds through this event anyway. Again, I'd love to go to Japan. I also value my sanity and free time, so that is going to go ahead and do it for these games. Let's move now to our outro. Alright everybody, thank you so much for watching all the way to the very end of the video like this. That means a whole lot to me. Not just personally, but it's also a great way of supporting the channel as well. If you're interested in supporting the channel in other means, you can of course feel free to comment and or subscribe right here on YouTube. I'm always looking to the comments section. You guys leave some pretty awesome feedback as far as like constructive criticism goes when it comes to deck building, gameplay, channel content, all that stuff. So feel free to leave your opinion down there. I will be sure to take a look at that there. And then subscribing is going to be the best way to get notifications of when these videos drop. That does happen every day, by the way, so if you're looking for daily Master Duel content, you've come to the right place. And there are more places where you can get some daily Master Duel content. If you check out the description below, follow the top link over to my Patreon page. There for just $5 a month, which is as much as you pay for a booster pack, you'll find a lot more value than a pack full of filler over there. We've got some previews for content upcoming here on the channel. We've got some exclusive games that are only posted over on Patreon over there. We've got some Q&As, and then you can also have your name featured in this lovely credit sequence where I thank all of the people who are helping contribute over there on Patreon. It's a huge support to the channel, and it really means a lot as well. So thank you everyone who is donating that is featured here on screen. And again, you know, it's not just a pure donation, you do get some more daily Master Duel content over there just for being a part of the Patreon. But I think that's about all the time that I have for today's video. Once again, I just want to thank you so very much for sticking all the way to the end of the video. Again, it just means a lot, as I do put a decent amount of work into getting these videos out every single day. But that's about all the time that I've got for now, so without further ado, this is XLex. I'm signing out, and I hope you have a fantastic day.